The following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither the station nor owners and agents will be held liable for the content of this program. Rebroadcast, redistributed, or reused without the express written permission without the host or producer is not allowed. You are listening to Family Spirit International.
It's going to be a good show. Oh my goodness. I can't wait. I finally get to see Bill Bean. I haven't talked to him in so long. Welcome to Family Spirit International. It's going to be a great show tonight. We've got demonologist Bill Bean on the show. And he's got some incredible books. He's got incredible experiences, life experiences that most of us can only fathom, in our imagination. It's unbelievable. So, let's see. Is Blaine on? I don't see him right now. That's all right. What I want to do first is tell everybody about Cosmic Goddess. They became our sponsor this month, and they are in Greenwood, South Carolina. They're a metaphysical store, and they also have a wellness center, and that you could do massage therapy and all kinds of wonderful things. I'm going to spend some time there, no doubt. So, thank you, Cosmic Goddess, for sponsoring us. And we've got some more people coming on as well. So let's see. Christopher, you ready to come talk to me?
Yeah,
There you are. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. I'm doing well.
Okay, great. Well, do you know who Bill Bean is?
Yeah, I remember from long ago.
Oh, yeah. Bill's an incredible friend. Can you imagine being in a serious situation spiritually and having to call somebody from across the nation to come to your home and take care of you? I mean, how scary is that? But knowing that they're coming, that is a really big burden on him, and he handles it with grace. I'm just so happy. Hey, let's just go ahead and bring him in. Do you have any questions before we get started, my friend?
Uh, I wonder if you've noticed that there's the uptake in need
There's Blaine.
of deliverance ministry lately. I have.
Yeah, I have noticed it as well. So Blaine is our official co-host, my friend. Hey, hey. Do
Hello,
you
hello, hello.
do you have some cool jokes to tell us about the Darwin Awards?
I do tonight. And
Yeah.
I've got one. Excuse me. Okay. This actually is in the state of Maryland. This guy had 173 exotic snakes.
Oh my God.
And he lives in an apartment. He left the tops of the terrariums open, and all 173 snakes got out. And he is no longer with us.
I've got one thing to say about that. Duct tape.
Thank you.
Duct tape. Duct tape.
Gorilla glue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a snake one time, and my dad was eating a hot dog and putting chips out, the little cedar chips, and the weenie of the hot dog fell out and landed in the cage, and the snake bit it, wrapped around it, killed it, and ate it. It was hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a funny one. That's a funny one.
Hey,
Okay, Bill
this
Bean,
rat is funny.
yeah, that is funny. All right, I've got his bio up, and I'm going to try to. He's got so much experience, it's unbelievable. Bill is a world-renowned spiritual deliverance minister, exorcist, and is known as the spiritual warrior. He's also an internationally known author, lecturer, paranormal slash supernatural expert. Bean is currently being featured on Lifetime movie network series I Was Possessed. and has been featured in 4 episodes on the Discovery Channel and Destination America, a Haunting series. Bean also appeared in the 2010 sci-fi movie The Haunted Boy, like one of my favorite movies of all time, and has appeared in
Mine
many
too.
TV shows about the supernatural. And Bill has given over 1,500 media interviews and has performed hundreds of deliverance/exorcisms all over America. Oh gosh, it just keeps going. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Bill has appeared on these shows and networks: Lifetime Movie Network, Discovery Channel, Sci-Fi, Travel Channel, Destination America, Animal Planet. Okay, I got to find out more about that. Coast to Coast Radio, I was on that. Belief, Beyond Belief, Cornerstone TV, Dead Files, heck yeah. LMN series, I Was Possessed, The List, Pulse, Talk UK, X Zone Canada, and many other networks. So you can add now Supernatural Inc. to that, Bill. We also have
Yes.
we've got 2 special co-hosts. I'm going to bring them on now. This is Bobby and Randy Troyer. And we've been doing investigation together for several years now. So without further ado, here's Bill. Well,
Lee and Blaine and everybody, thank you for having me on.
Yep.
It's a pleasure. And
Hey, Brother
boy,
Bill.
I can't believe, hey, brother, thank you again. I'm glad to be here. I can't believe that it's been, this long and I haven't been on your show, Lee. So it's things have a way of coming around, and praise God for that. It's just been an amazing journey for me. And Blaine and you, well, Blaine knew me from the beginning when I was just a guy with a story to tell. And then
I remember.
God put this calling on my life. And it's just been one amazing journey. And that bio, I should have sent you an updated bio, because now it's 2,500 media interviews.
Wow.
And I've helped people in 55 other countries as well, and counting. So my operation is like almost a 24/7 operation.
I know.
I get to bed at 6:30 a.m. every morning. I'm helping people from all over America and the world. It's nonstop. It's like trying to put a forest fire out with a garden hose. And I praise God for working through me to help people. So it just continues, and I just keep on. And it's by the power of God that I can do these things.
Wow. It's amazing. Have you seen an uptick in activity where people have been either oppressed or possessed?
Absolutely. And
this
is happening
I
not only in America, but worldwide.
Really?
You just wouldn't believe it. I mean, places like Pakistan and Africa, and you wouldn't believe some of these places, many places in South America, all throughout Europe and Scandinavia, all these different types of people and places, but yet have one thing in common, is that they are under some form of spiritual attack.
Well, we have discovered through conversations on this network, Robert Young is a retired VA psychiatrist, and he said that he's part of a group of retired psychiatrists from the VA. They still research and study and to help soldiers. And he said that they could pretty much guarantee that there's a lot of curses being placed on our soldiers and people that are in the country. So, and how that affects PTSD. So
I have God's worked through me to help many soldiers returning home from battle. And some of these soldiers reported to me that they actually saw demons manifest on the battlefield. And one other, go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry.
Crazy. I was just going to say, all right, Blaine.
Yes.
He's got a story to tell you. He's got a story.
Yeah. Now, Bill, I can attest to that. When I was in Iraq over there, we were in a hardened air shelter, and it was a double hardened air shelter. It had a bunker in it. Well, we dropped a bunker buster on that during the Gulf War, and when I went in the place, you could still see where there's like these pieces of body stuff still there. And I was just sitting in there one day watching all the Iraqi spirits walk through, and dog cussed me out in Farsi. So I knew they had to be cussing at me.
Yeah.
But and then I was sitting there and I saw, I would describe or a Muslim devil,
A
and
gin.
I could tell this thing. It was quite ugly. He had this nasty looking gray skin, beanie, these teeth. Proud of it was that bad, and he was
Jeez.
probably about eight
Wow.
9 foot tall. Yeah, he didn't like the fact that I could see him at all, but he never messed with me. But I felt like we had been cursed the whole time we were there. Just certain little things that would happen. And I know because I'm very into spirituality and I could pick up
Yeah.
on stuff like that. So I knew a lot of that was cast at us a lot. So yeah.
Well, I believe it. And again, I've heard similar stories to yours, Blaine. And one account
Mm-hmm.
came from a SEAL. And I got to be careful because I don't want to say too much because these are, these are
Well, it's
confidential
private.
discussions. However, yeah,
Yeah.
I will say this, that while the sub was in commission and while they were carrying out whatever mission they were carrying out, um, a UFO, an unidentified, well, I guess a USO,
Oh,
unidentified submersible object, approached the sub, and the next thing he knows is a non-human being has now boarded the sub that he's on
oh
and
my
is
Yeah.
God.
talking with superiors
Oh
on
Lord.
the, yeah. And so I've heard a lot of different stories when it comes to, the supernatural with
Yeah.
our military. And and I think, really think, and Blaine, you could give a better assessment of this than me because you've been there. But I would think that when you are on the battlefield in any situation where you have this high alert, not only has the adrenaline kicked in, but now it's a traumatic experience because especially if people,
Oh
you're
God,
engaged in a
yes.
firefight.
Oh yeah.
So demons love this. So um, they love trauma. They love to put people in fear. This is the main food for the devil. So all life operates on frequency and
Yep.
vibration. So when Yahweh created the universe, he spoke
Yep.
it into existence by the frequency and vibration of his voice. Therefore, all life operates on that principle.
Yep.
So if we're
Right.
on high frequency, high
Mm-hmm.
vibration, life is good, life is positive. But if we're on low, life sucks and we're wide open and vulnerable
Yeah.
for demonic attack. And so that's where the devil wants us to be, on the low frequency, low vibration. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
when you equate that to the battlefield and this state of high alert and trauma, you better believe demons are going to be there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. I can tell you personally, they were there. We saw quite a lot of them manifesting. Um, you'd see a bunch of, let's just say, a helicopter came in with a bunch of troops on it. They had just been out. Well, we watched them get off the helicopter, and I watched the demons get off with them.
I
And
believe
then
it.
the demons just dissipate, but probably still there. And they were, like you said, it was like a free feeding frenzy for them. It was like
Yeah.
an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Loving it. They're loving every second
Yep.
of it. And they're
Oh, dude, they
feeding off
were.
of
I
that.
know they were. Oh
And
yeah.
that's how they become empowered. And a lot of troops come home that have, engaged in battle and they can't sleep. They are having these demonic problems. They are under a form of
Mhm.
demonic oppression. Some came under demonic possession. They
Yes.
are addicted to substances, alcohol and or drugs.
Yes.
Alcohol is from Egypt. It's called alcohol, means flesh-eating demon. Drugs,
Oh wow.
when you're using drugs, that's pharmakia. That's the Greek
Yeah.
word for sorcery, pharmakia.
Yep.
So this gives
Mhm.
demons a legal right to be there, to be in, and they feed off of every bit of that. But I have seen it all
Oh yeah.
when it comes to the troops, coming home from battle, and I praise God for having worked through me to have been a help to some. But I got to tell you guys,
Yeah.
in one instance, it still pains me to this day because this man was in. Oh, so he had a wife and little children. They looked like a beautiful family, but he was in Iraq, was suffering with major PTSD. I was called to go out there to help him in Sacramento. I went. God worked through me to help him. I thought he was free. He seemed to be doing well. He was doing well for a while. And then all of a sudden, he had been addicted to alcohol and drugs. And after a while, unfortunately, he went back to that, and then he committed suicide. And just, it
Oh
pains me to this day.
no.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we've
this
got a
does
lot of
happen.
people. We have a lot of people in our chat room talking. I'm getting texts and messages too.
Great.
So Anne Marie says that we have a beautiful form of people. Thank you, Anne Marie Young. And she's talking about the law of attraction. If you've got a negative outlook and your body is low frequency, then those are
Yeah.
the types of things that you will react, that will see you.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So she's right that they have come back with attachments. Very scary. Now, um, Randy, Bobby, you guys just step in when you want to ask a question because we're firing kind of quick from the hip, you know.
Okay.
I have a quick question though. I was talking to someone about this, and she said, "How do you know the difference between a mental illness like a person? What is it?
Schizophrenia.
Borderline schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder from a spiritual manifestation of evil, or are they
Well,
together?"
they can be. And, it's unfortunate. I am not a psychiatrist. However, I have had enough experience that it probably could be, and a psychologist, because I'm every bit as much a counselor as I am a spiritual warrior that God works through to cast these things out. So I have to do these types of evaluations, uh, psychological and emotional evaluations with people. And then after it's over with, I have to sit down again and become a counselor and a life coach to rebuild this person's
yes.
life and to put a game plan together for their life and moving forward, and telling them, hey, these are the doorways you have to keep closed. You don't want to open those doorways again, because 7 more wicked than the original will come back.
Yeah.
So I'll say it. This is the best way to say it, I guess, for me, is that God gives me holy discernment. So he gives me a knowing of things. I don't claim to be anything. I'm just a vessel that God works through, but he does give me a knowing of things. And so it is through these beginning stages of evaluation, getting the person's story, letting them talk. The most important thing is to allow the target, the victim, to talk, because the more
Yeah,
they talk,
you're good
the
at
more
that.
they're getting it up and out and off, and you're getting to
Hmm.
know, and God will start giving me a very clear picture of what is going on. And, is this more mental than supernatural? Is it mental and supernatural? Is it strictly supernatural? In a lot of cases, and not all, but in a vast majority of the cases, this starts at childhood. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
in many cases, it starts with child molestation, some type of violent and traumatic act that will open the doorway for these demonic forces to be on the targeted individual, and it will stay on them until someone like me comes along, by the power of God working through me or whoever else, to evict them.
You know,
And so it is very, very important, Lee, to get the whole story from the
oh,
from the
yes.
victim.
Yes.
I was doing some reading before, preparing for you coming on the show. And I had, this was a while back, but I had I remembered this. There was a question that I would ask people if they thought maybe they had some sort of oppression or even possession. I would say, okay, you're walking down the hall and you've got a blindfold on and you're trying to feel your way. And I give you a glass of water. Now, I'm gonna drop something in it. How do you know what's in there? And usually what they say is, "I'll stick my hand in there and find out," or one of them said, "I'll drink the water to find out."
Mm,
And he was the alcoholic. It was extreme
hmm.
case. He lived about 2 months after we tried our intervention with all of that. It was very sad. But,
It is sad.
just little things like that, just hearing the way that their minds, where are they coming from? Just that was what do you do? You're blindfolded, you got a glass of water, I dropped something in it, how do you know what's in it?
Yeah,
Do you ask
it's
someone
very
else?
sad.
Do you take the blindfold off? Do you use a flashlight? And usually they can't navigate it. And interestingly, Bill, Tammy, excuse me, Bobby and Randy,
Hmm.
Bobby and Randy do a lot of volunteering with substance abuse shelters.
Oh, God bless
They,
you both.
yeah, go ahead, guys. Tell them what you've been working on, and it's amazing what they do together. The hundreds of people, I would say thousands by now.
Me, go ahead. Well,
It's
nice to
okay.
be on the show. It's nice to meet you.
It's my pleasure. And God
Wow.
bless you both for your work.
Yes.
So yeah, we don't. We got involved with a drug rehab center back probably about probably 10 years ago now, due to one of our boys got caught up in it, and you at some point you come to realize that you're not helping, you're enabling.
Yes.
So we kind of reached out to a center where might could work with, and just be a benefit or a blessing to somebody. So that's what we do. So it's just the kind of the simple things. It's nothing big, nothing major, nothing like that.
Right.
We
I
just
have
love to
seen
support.
I've seen the food this man has cooked and taken over there. He competes in barbecue contests, and he
Wow.
made this big spread of food and took it over there. They work
I believe it, Lee. I
so
could see
hard.
their goodness. I could see the blessing on both of you. So, yeah, you wouldn't have to say a word. I could see exactly who you are and
These
the
are
level of
great
favor and
people.
blessing you have on you.
Well, I
They're
And
appreciate
good for
that.
you. And you guys could probably write a book about the experiences and the people that you've encountered throughout the years.
There has been some very interesting encounters. Yes, sir. That sure
Yes,
has.
you could say that.
Yeah, we had
Dora.
we live in the country, we live in the country, and we've had people show up at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning because they knew that we were, we knew somebody that could help them, and such. So we've we've been able to network a few places so that when we do encounter somebody, we don't actually, the interviews. You're only going to, you can't want the recovery more than they do.
Yeah.
So, we just kind of, we're in the ministry of reference. Talk to this person, talk to that person.
Well,
Get 'em
God's working
connected.
through you to be that conduit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's wonderful.
So,
It's a very invaluable service.
So, in light of that, on those lines, you deal with a lot of people, as such. Do you have a network per se, where after you have helped somebody, have counseled somebody, do you have resources where that they can go to continue furthering their help, their walk, their maybe a new dedication with God?
Yeah, usually that's with me. So as if I'm not busy enough, and I'm always on to the next person because there's always a next person. But
Sure.
God helps me to manage this where these people do keep in contact with me. I have a little show that I do every Friday night. It's really more of a church service. It's called Warrior Mode. And so they tune into that. And that is our church. That is our service. We give real and authentic praise and worship to our glorious God. I have 10 steps to victory, I call 10 steps to live by. If you apply them to your life won't become perfect, but I'll guarantee you one thing, your life will become blessed. And 7 declarations that people should say every day as well. We have a prayer list of probably about 650 people now. I say every single name. Takes me 35 minutes or so to say every name on the broadcast, but I do every week, and that list continues to grow. And so that is the source for people that are really, and look, I can't twist anybody's arm to do anything, but I urge people to make their real and authentic connection with God and to have Jesus in their life guiding them. And some do, most do, some don't. And then those people end up calling me back for help again. And it's sad and unfortunate.
Yeah,
Sometimes it takes a few times before they understand what I'm trying to say to them about making God first. But I do also deal with a lot of people that have been addicted to substances. In some of those situations, some were under the influence when I was performing the spiritual deliverance over them. I mean, it's just, and then it's amazing because as that's taking place, God just sobers them right up. His power comes right and shakes them to their core. but they had admitted to me that, they had taken substances, anything from weed to fentanyl, while doing this.
Yeah, we've witnessed that ourselves.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so it's very sad and unfortunate. So, my opinion, what's taking place here in the world, especially in America, is that Yahweh, our glorious God, his name was listed 6,823 times in the Bible, replaced with the title of Lords, where you see Lord in caps, that should say Yahweh. Jesus' real Hebrew name is Yahshua, which means Yahweh saves. Yahweh saves through him. So I try to inform people of these things because knowledge is power, and power perceived is power achieved. And the devil knows this, and he tries to keep us dumb down. He does not want us to increase in knowledge, because then that will draw us even closer to God. He does not want that. So Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And it's true. So we're all dumbed down here, especially in America, to the point to where God is giving the devil this short time to be in control. It's not going to last for much longer. But while it is, he's having a field day in deception of the people. And he doesn't care if people worship him. He wants people to worship themselves. Therefore, it is distorting and severing their connection with God. And so they are worshiping him de facto by worshiping themselves. And so it's a very clever plan that has been in the making for a long time. And we are where we are right now as a result of those things that were implemented back in, I'd say, like 1956. And it has been a plan that has been unfolding ever since.
Yeah, Paul talked about that actually. Said well, people will worship the creator rather than the creator.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was leading into this song. So what do you think is the number one motivation that human shy away from seeking the creator and rather worship the creation?
Selfishness. So the world is under the spirit of rebellion and the spirit of selfishness.
We've been talking about that a lot.
Yeah, and that comes from the devil. And so again, he was a very favored individual that held a high place in heaven as the choir director. He was very close to Yahweh. And so when the rebellion took place, and that was over the Christos, the anointed one, the Melchizedek, the high priest for God, Yahshua Jesus the Christ, when he came on the scene, the devil started the rebellion then, because he wanted to be the one. He wanted to be the one to have all the glory. And so he was not going to allow the other one to outshine him. And so then Yahweh was about to create mankind. He was going to give us free will. And the devil really hated that. And then he was reassigned as the adversary to mankind because we have free will. So that's why he exists. That's why he still exists. He actually serves a purpose. And so right now, he has control of the world. And this is why the world is upside down and backwards, especially in America. And that is in the order of the devil. His order is order out of chaos. So his fingerprints are all over this mess that we're in right now.
Yes.
No doubt. No doubt.
And so this is why it is so important. And I urge people. And again, God gave us free will. So I can't say you better. And there are preachers out there who say, you better do this or you're hellbound. Meanwhile, they're doing anything evil and wicked under the sun. But I don't come at it from that approach. I come at it from, I'm not a smiley face preacher. I'm very fierce. God has made me to be that way. I am a very serious and intense individual. God has made me to be that way as well. I'm a very truthful individual. And so I come at it from the aspect of truth to say, as a living witness and a walking miracle, that my life was so horrible as a child and a young man that I was seeking death. I wasn't going to slip my wrist or take pills, but I wanted somebody to come up, put a gun to my head and pull the trigger. That's what kind of pain I was in for a long time. And I was physically attacked by demonic entities between ages 5 and 12. Many tragedies throughout my family. Neither of my parents lived to see the age of 50. My mother died at age 44 from a cerebral hemorrhage. My father was shot to death at age 48. Many other family members dead and gone. 4 that I could think of off the top of my head died of drug overdoses. So, I know all about these things. I grew up on the streets. I had to quit school in the 8th grade after the death of my mother and grandmother. They died 2 months and 2 days apart. They were the two closest people to me in my life that were suddenly gone. I quit school in the 8th grade, lied about my age, went to work for a construction company, and I went to work with some hardcore guys, and that made me a hardcore guy. And I grew up on the streets. I drank, I did drugs, I was violent, and most of those people are dead or in prison, and I could have very easily have been there as well. And so I lived that way for so long until I had an epiphany one day, and I said to God, if you can help me, out of this, I don't want this life anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to use drugs anymore. If you can help me out of this, then I will make you first in my life. And it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. Now, the urge to drink alcohol and use drugs was instant. He took it from me. I never went to one NA or AA meeting, not one. He took it from me like that. But the behavioral patterns, that was 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. And it was a process because when we develop behavioral patterns, they're very difficult to break, not impossible, but we have to want to break them. We have to want to be free from that. I say that to addicts all the time. Don't waste my time, because if you're, if you really want this, I'll help you every step of the way, but don't waste my time if you're insincere, because nothing changes until you're ready to change it.
Exactly.
We have a question from our chat. She's asking for information on generational curses.
They're very real. And my family had a generational curse as well. And that started well over 100 years ago when 2 family members actually conjured up demonic forces in an invocation type of ritualistic ceremony that brought those demons in and on the family and created this mess on both sides of the family. So they're very real, they're very destructive, and they have to be broken. They are not going to just go away. It's going to require someone like me, by the power of God working through me, to break those curses and evict those demons that have been assigned to those family members by the devil.
Another thought to put out for you. The gentleman that produces the show, Brandon Cooper, he's not on right now, but he actually works with a program that takes people that are addicts or have, something that they need to recover from. And then they go to, I think it's South Dakota, and he helps them get scholarships to be able to get their
it's wonderful.
Their rescue, And so you're surrounded by people tonight that are doing, Randy and Bobby, what they do is unbelievable.
Love it.
But we every time we have a show, we talk about, reaching out and getting help if you need it. So
and I look at it like this, Lee. I love everybody, and I would do anything for anybody, but I'm not going to be anybody's fool either. And I've been in situations to where I was manipulated because I loved and cared about someone, but they were really just trying to get money out of me and stuff like that for their habit. And then, once I got wise to that, I said, oh, no. You're not going to, if I can't be a blessing to you, I'm not absorbing your curses. And you come back to me when you're real and sincere about being free. Otherwise, I'm not a player in your game. And that's what it becomes. It becomes the person's created little world, and everybody's a player in it. And so they're going to, use and manipulate anybody and everybody. The bottom line is to score, to get their drug.
Yeah. See what I'd have done, Bill? I'd have gave him money, but it'd been monopoly money. I said, go buy your drugs with that.
I tell you what.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brandy.
A person that is a substance abuser, on drugs, they can be so sincere and convincing in your face and have their hand in your back pocket all at the same time.
It's true. It's happened.
And that's where we had to get to. Are we helping? Are we enabling? And we understand, but there are some things that we can, but there are people who are better equipped. And so, that's where we just reference to somebody else, or we call and ask guidance while we're going, through it, because we certainly don't know everything about it. But it is really amazing And it has to be, to a degree, demonic, because I don't know that a person can be that sincere, or at some point or at some level, a person can't. They believe everything is coming out of their mouth, and everybody in the room knows it's a bold lie.
But see, this is demonic, absolutely. So the devil is the original liar, the
Right.
master deceiver,
Mhm.
the original salesman, the master manipulator, mimic, and people like that. You're absolutely right. I've seen it with my own eyes. They're so convincing, and they just, they're trying to almost hypnotize people and
Yes.
mesmerize them into believing their lies, and presenting that to where they think people are going to believe that is truth.
Yeah, especially over the phone. I cannot. I have to be looking at them face
Oh
to
yeah,
face. I
don't
can't.
go nothing.
I can't over the phone, because over the phone is so convincing. It's so.
Yeah.
But it's facial expression gives a lot away too. So sometimes, but
No, it's absolutely true, and it's very sad and
I'm
unfortunate.
I'm a
lot of these
sucker. I
people,
can't tell if I don't
I,
touch them. I'm a sucker. I mean, people call
I've been
me,
there.
and it's like, come on, I can't do any. And then I think I've got them back on their feet. And it's like, well, darn, we're back at it again. But
But see,
so
this comes from a background. A lot of these people, they come
Yep.
from a background of trauma, and so
Yep.
Right.
some of these people, again, molested as children, raped, violent crimes. In some cases, I can't even repeat what took place in the childhood of some of
Yeah.
these individuals that led to the level of trauma to where they have to escape reality. So they can't deal
Yep.
with this in the real world and head on. So they have to use these substances to escape reality. And the sad part is, when the high is over, they're back to reality again. They got to get high again to escape
it's
it
a
again.
Yep.
cycle.
It's a never ending
Mhm.
cycle. And
Now,
so
Yeah,
what
it
the
is.
devil hopes is that it ends up ultimately in the death of the individual. But in the process, it is destroying families, every person that's in that targeted individual's life that cares and wants to help. It's like this, I call it a spiritual virus. It just goes through, and it's
oh,
just
Yep.
causing nothing but
that's a good
destruction.
word.
And the devil loves every second of it.
Right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
it is.
his number one goal is to break down the family unit. If he could break down the family
Absolutely.
unit, then he's got a way in. So is there a you deal with a lot of demonic possessions and such? Is there a lot of substance abuse in the demonic possession, or is there? I don't know how I'm at the question I'm asking. To what level of do you see some type of substance abuse, be it alcohol, be it drugs, be it prescription drugs, and a demonic possession per se, or demonic oppression, where the person is just yielding, to pretty much to the whims of whatever the attack is on them.
High
Well,
level, a high
Um,
level, because again, through trauma and depression as well. So when you mix in trauma and depression, and that's what the devil wants too, to get a
that
person in
opens
that depressed
the
state.
door. Then
Yeah.
Well, it's already open through the spirit of pharmakia, through the use of drugs, and then if it's
Yeah.
alcohol, the spirit of alcohol from Egypt. So that's all. The doors are already open in legal right. But when you factor in the depression aspect of it as well, that is really where the devil wants somebody, because it's part of a wearing down process. They want to wear that person down to where they get depressed, and then they just give up. They give up the will to fight. They give up the will to live. And that's how a complete, full demonic possession can take place.
Now, this is what happened to me, and this is how I met Bill. I was having migraines, horrible migraines, to the point where I would stutter and have seizures. And I had a history of seizures when I was a little girl. And little did I know, but I was getting a psychic kind of an upgrade, as we call it, Blaine, where I was going to be getting
Mhm.
more of a clear audience, being able to hear voices of the deceased and that. So I had that happening, and Matt was deployed, and it was a really bad deployment. We had someone break into the house, and I had to get my gun and run them out. So I had one thing after another, and the doctor put me on medication to stop the seizures, and 2 of the medicines were fatal when they were taken together.
Mm.
And it started affecting my intestine, and I started having bleeding sores. So I ended up in the ER and ended up in the hospital, and I just thought, my God, I'm losing my mind. And that's when I met Bill online. We were talking on
Randall.
on social media,
Yeah.
and you did a lot to help me. I mean,
Well,
I
we
was
praise
at
God
the
for
very
it.
bottom of everything. So I thank you.
You
We
don't
have
have to thank me. We praise Him for it. He brought us together in order to work through me to help you. And I'm overjoyed that you overcame all that. God loved you and saved you and transformed your life. And now you are a victor.
I had E. coli poisoning.
Mm.
I had a dream that I
Dear
was
God.
told, somebody told me in a dream that I needed to go to the gynecologist. And what in the world that had to do with any of this, I didn't know. But the doctor I saw was a chemist as well as an OBGYN. He took samples of what, he needed, and he was able to diagnose me with a not stethoscope, microscope in the office. And he told me while I was standing there what I had. When I left out of there, I had the medicine I needed, and within 3
Good.
days the seizures stopped.
Yeah, thank
So,
God.
but see, it was medication, and it was the abuse of. I didn't abuse it; it was just given to me. But you see what happened? It led me into a lot of despair.
That's
I, I,
right.
I didn't want to even. I didn't even want to. I was ready just to. If I had to live in my car, I didn't care. I just wanted to be away from everybody. I give up.
You didn't even want to be living, period. Yeah, I mean, it had
No.
gotten to that point. And so this is what the devil does. This can happen to anybody. And so all of us, whether we know it or not, whether we want to know it or believe it or not, every single person is in some form of spiritual warfare on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And most of the world is oblivious to this. And people go, my life sucks. It's so terrible. They can't see it. They don't understand that there are forces outside of, our perception that just lay in wait and look for openings to come in and create a variety of damage. And this is
Now,
why it's so important to make God first and to keep Him first.
someone had sent me a message just a second ago. They said that Nancy Pelosi, after her house was broken into and her husband was assaulted, she called for an exorcism on her house. There was lots
I
and
heard
lots of
about that.
spiritual activity. To my knowledge, she's not Catholic, so I was trying to figure out.
Oh, she is.
She's
Yeah,
Catholic.
She is
So,
Catholic. Oh, she's very
okay.
Catholic.
So she would be able to go through the church to do this thing.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's a lifestyle that doesn't really line up with what she's asking.
I know.
Oh boy, Randy.
Well, I mean, if the Bible clearly says, you'll know that you can say you're an apple tree, but if your apples are peaches, you're not really what you say you are.
Yeah. So Jesus said, you'll know them by their fruit. And
And that brings me to another question. So there are levels in the demonic kingdom.
Yes.
And we talk about the demons and the forces against the human body in itself. But the Bible also speaks of fallen angels and regional angels, like
powers and
an
principalities.
example in
Yeah.
Daniel, when Daniel was talking about where the angel come to reveal his dream to him, and the angel told him, I fought through the Prince of Persia to come to deliver this message.
Yeah.
Would that be a reason why we see areas in, say, even the United States, not calling Pelosi out, but let's just say in that area where they have the drug and substance abuse is so high and rampant,
Off the charts.
and it's allowed to go untreated, and just like it's an everyday part of life, actually.
Yes. So again, these are parts of powers and principalities that, and powers and principalities can be in the heavenly realms as well, but they're also in the demonic realms because the devil mimics everything that God does and he puts a vulgar twist on it. So these demonic powers and principalities do reside over certain places, and Washington, D.C. is one of those places because And this is probably unpopular what I'm going to say here, but for all of you that are watching, you don't have to believe a word that I say. I urge you to do the research for yourself, and then your eyes will be like this. George Washington was not the first president of the United States. He was the 8th. John Hanson of Maryland was the first president of the United States. But
Yes,
Washington was a 33rd degree Freemason, and he brought in a French Freemason, Jean-Pierre Elefante, to design Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. is designed in very occultic symbols, pentagrams, owls, all kind of stuff. So it has the stamp of the devil and his underlings on there. So therefore, it makes it a cursed place. And so you're going to have those powers and principalities residing over those types of places, or many of these types of places, all through America and different parts of the world. People have no idea. And God bless the ones who thirst for knowledge, because again, knowledge is power. But by and large, thanks to our entertainment industry and sports and even the political realms, people are asleep. And people just want to be told what to do. They want to stay in their own little box, and that's it. They don't want to know anything more. And sometimes when you speak truth to people like that, you become their enemy because they don't want the truth. And what did Jesus say? The truth will set you free. So I'd much rather know the truth any day than not. Yeah. And so, yes, Randy, there are these powers and principalities everywhere. Go ahead,
Professor Robert, that's okay. Professor Robert Young has joined us. We were just talking about you, Robert.
I heard you.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, Bob. We're happy to have you on. This Bill
Thank
Bean.
you.
This is Professor Robert Young, and we were talking about the theories of. Yes, he's the psychiatrist I was telling you about that we were discussing. How PTSD is being is growing, and the fierceness of it's growing because of potential curses that are placed on our soldiers and soldiers' families. So
yes, yeah, that's true. A lot of the areas through the years that our veterans have been deployed to are areas where religiously and culturally the casting of curses has been endemic within the culture. Okay, and even in some cultures like Buddhist culture, where it's supposed to be frowned upon, and it is frowned upon, it even happens there, very ritualistically. And it's not that the PTSD is caused by the curses. It's certainly not caused by it. It's caused by the trauma itself. But the spiritual realm, the curses impact on the PTSD, and they need to be dealt with as well as the core trauma itself. Bill, I like a lot of what you have been saying. I think you're spot on, and this is very good. You're making not just a good show, but you're making a lot of points for a lot of people, and I'm very happy to hear it. One thing I do want to say is when it comes to psychiatric illnesses and the world of the demons, the reality is a lot of the psychiatric illnesses do come from chemical imbalances. They really do need medication. However, there is, looking at human beings holistically, there is also the spiritual aspect. And it's important to take that into consideration as well, and to do a very good upfront evaluation in terms of supernatural phenomena, to determine whether or not, there's actually a possession going on here. That which is evil does not need to do a full-scale possession in order to tilt a person and a family in the direction of destruction, and it's just something to be aware of too.
And along with that, I would imagine that would be very important to seek wise counsel, because like our daughter was going through some such, and she went to a psychiatrist. And after a few sessions, the psychiatrist was telling her, well, I think what you need to do is divorce your husband.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute now. you need to back up. There's something wrong with her. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, where's your
Yeah.
husband take these pills? So, I mean, so she brought it to us. It's like, no, that's way wrong. That's wrong. That is not
So
godly
against
counsel.
God, right?
So with that just bring to mind though, she had enough. She knew that was wrong, right? Just right off the rip, she knew that was wrong. But what about the people who do not have that support behind them, who actually do buy into that? One of my oh, we blacked out. Okay, one of my employers, my customer service representative, um, came home one day and his wife had left him, was going, for another man. And ultimately it was the same thing. She was, depressed. Their son was killed at 18 years old, and she just
Oof.
struggled. She struggled with it. She could
Terrible.
never get
Yeah,
over
of
it.
course.
And
Yeah.
she started going to a psychiatrist about it. And the next thing you know, the psychiatrist says, well, you need to find you need to be thinking about you. It's and it brought it all about you. It's your happiness, it's your peace, it's your contentment. Not worry about anybody else. It's you. And so in essence, what she did is she broke that family up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I promise you, after 2 years now, it has not brought happiness at all. The members of that family are bitter towards each other. So what this psychiatrist has done is wreck them. She didn't help them; she wrecked them. So I guess my point is that we tell people when they come to us is make sure your counsel is godly. Make sure your counsel is in line with truth, not just some tickling your ears or under a spirit of religion, which people want to be told what to do. What do I know? What they don't want to research anything. They don't want. They just want it to be pain free.
They want to be led. Yeah. Take a pill and be led.
And led. So all I have to do is I have to be in church at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, and doggone it, if he don't let me out by 12:01 to make it to the Chinese restaurant, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
All I need is 2 hours.
Or if I can't
All I
get home
need
to
is
see
2 hours.
football or baseball, if I can't, I better be able to get out there in time to see the ball game or whatever. It's the same thing. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
very, very sad.
Someone in our chat room, Anne Marie Young, said that mental health for everyone is getting hard to get. Unfortunately, people have no hope or way in many ways, they have no way of being able to get help. I have found out that the VA, we've been talking a lot about military, but with Aetna, a lot of different companies, such as the large medical insurance companies, they have telehealth, and they have the ability for you to call into them, and they'll somewhat, I guess you'd say, talk you down, and then even refer someone to you for counseling. A lot of counseling is done over the internet by video chat, and that anything is helpful when you just need someone to listen.
Yes.
I don't do that well. I
Yeah.
just end up trying to fix it. And
My insurance company now has that on the back of my card where the
that's
call.
good. So, Bill, this is Christopher Fisher, and
Hi,
Professor
Christopher.
Young. Yeah, this is Randy and Bobby Troyer, Robert.
Yeah.
They're students of mine and absolutely incredible people. And I didn't know how much all of us was going to have
We know,
in
Great to meet
common.
you. Yeah.
We got a lot in common,
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah, praise
So,
God. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
By the way,
Well,
one
I'm
thing
not
that I
sure.
really
people
feel I
together.
need to say at this point, okay, and that's I was listening to you say that the psychiatrist was giving advice, and it became a mess. Psychiatrists at this point, when they're in training, when they're in school, it is no longer mandatory for them to take psychotherapy.
Right.
Okay, they're if they want to just go out there and become dispensers of medication, they can do that. They don't have to take psychotherapy. Ergo, some of the advice that they're giving is not necessarily professional advice. You know, their profession actually, for some of them now, because of this, those that don't choose to take the psychotherapy, it's limited to the dispensing of medication, and that can lead to difficulties for many people that are under the impression that they do. And you said another thing, you know, the telehealth. Telehealth is better than nothing. Absolutely, it is. On the other hand, nothing beats forming a positive relationship with somebody that you're trying to help when you're actually together with them. It just makes for a stronger bond, and it's more meaningful to them in moments of desperation. And that's all I had to say. Thanks for listening.
No, I appreciate that explanation. That
I
makes
tell
a
people
lot of
this.
sense. I do appreciate that.
It does make sense. Yeah. I tell people this. If you have no intent on reading the Bible, I would say, and that's your choice, but I would say if you would read anything, go to Deuteronomy 28 and read that. Read all
Powerful scripture.
of Deuteronomy 28, because it starts out by saying that if you hearken unto the voice of God and you make him first, you will be blessed in all of your ways. And if you don't, you will be cursed. Bottom line, end of story. It's not rocket science. It's right there. I'm a living witness to this, because for the first part of my life, you know, through my childhood and my going into my adult years and all my destructive behavioral ways and patterns, I was not making God first. I was not hearkening on his voice, and my life was cursed. But then when I decided, it was the greatest decision I ever made in my life, was to make him first in my life started to change. And it was a process, like I said, a process, 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. But once I got there, I never looked back. And those terrible things that happened to me, it was like it happened to somebody else. I was that far removed from it. So I once had a life that was so cursed that I begged for death. And now I have a life that's so blessed that I wouldn't trade my life for anybody's life on this planet. And so that's what God does. He makes the impossible possible. And that saying, a family that prays together stays together. It's a true saying. And the devil knows this. So his tactics right out of his playbook are to divide and conquer. So it's bully tactics. It is fear-based, trauma-based tactics, and divide and conquer tactics. Because when he divides people, then he can have those demons come in and wear them down to the point of destruction. So that's what this is all about. So when people have these experiences of, I saw a manifestation, I heard a voice, I saw an object thrown, I heard footsteps, all this cavalcade of things. These are little parlor tricks to put people in a state of fear. And so when people are placed into that state of fear, it brings and lowers the frequency and vibration. So now that person's wide open and vulnerable for demonic attack.
For those of you
This is
that
right
are
out of his
watching,
playbook.
it is. Those of you that are watching us, I see the chats, and I thank you so much for your sharing your childhood traumas and things that have happened. Please, if you are posting this in a public forum, realize that other people can see these things. If you want to talk to me about that, or anyone that's on the panel tonight, I'm sure that everybody's willing to listen. I care about you. Just send me a private message. I'm getting a lot of stuff, Bill. A lot of stuff. My phone's blowing up. I'm seeing the chats.
There's a
There's a lot.
lot of
You
people
too?
hurting
There's
out there.
Yeah.
just send me
There's so
messages,
many people
and
suffering. I was recently,
some of these things are really something. We
and
need to be
last
praying
week
for
I
these
was
people.
it's terrible. Yeah, it's horrible. I was on a show last week out of New York. I was in New York doing the show in studio, and the phone lines continued to light up in the hundreds. That's how many people there are out there that are suffering in some way, shape, or form. And so like I said earlier, my operation is like almost a 24/7 operation. People come to me from all over the world for help, and it's like trying to put a forest fire out with a garden hose. But I'm thankful that God works through me in this way to be able to help as many people as I possibly can. And I want to help anybody and everybody because I love people and I take the sufferings of others very personally and very seriously. And I didn't choose this work. God chose me to do it. And I couldn't understand it at first, but now I understand it perfectly well, because God chooses the people that have been there. Had I not had this level of suffering in my life, I could not be in this position, because I wouldn't be able to
Mm-hmm.
relate to people that are suffering.
Yeah.
So that creates an
Exactly.
instant bond. When a person reaches out for help, they go, well, this guy's been there. He understands me. I can relate to him because he's been there. So God knows what he's doing. And I'm grateful and thankful that he chose me to work through me to help people.
So, Bill, with these comments coming in, these chats coming in, what would you counsel somebody? What would the first 3 steps that you could encourage somebody right now to move towards victory over whatever they are, fighting with right now? What are the first 3 steps that you would counsel somebody to work towards?
Well, it would be the first 3 words: make God first. If you
Amen.
decide that you want to make him first, and that requires you to submit before him. So you have to, what I did is I got on my knees and asked him to forgive me for anything that I've ever done that, was not pleasing to him, and that I was sincere, that I wanted to come back to him. He never leaves us, we leave him. And,
Sure.
and I wanted to come back to him and make him first in my life, and then accept Jesus to come into my life and guide me on that path back to the Father. And so that is my strongest advice for any person out there that is suffering. Now, you can take it from me, and you can take it to the bank, because what I'm saying is 100% the truth.
Of course.
I had a
Yeah,
horrific
he
life,
is.
and when I decided to make God first in my life, it all changed.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, back up
I'm
there
sorry,
just a
Randy, go
minute,
ahead.
because we've talked to people. I mean, we're in the Bible Belt, and it's still amazing how people that God's a word to them, Yahweh's a word to them. Why is it important for us to surrender to God?
Because if we are not surrendering to him, then we are not making him first. We're not trusting him to guide our lives, and that means that we are still in the world. So a friend of the world is an enemy to God. You cannot serve 2 masters. So if you say, oh, well, I believe, but, I'm going to do anything and everything worldly, and I could still get high, and I can still drink, I can do whatever I want to do. But I know a lot of drug addicts that know the Bible better than a lot of pastors and preachers. They know the Bible inside and out, but their theme is we're saved under grace, and so we can do anything we want to do because Jesus paid the tab for all sin. That's a lie. Every man is responsible for his choices, and sin still exists. Yes, Jesus died for us. However, sin is not eradicated. Each and every man is responsible and has a responsibility and obligation to try to do the best that they can do and be the best that they can be, because we live in a sin-filled, fallen world. We'll never achieve perfection here on this earth. However, we will when we get to Yahweh's heavenly kingdom. But in the meantime, we must strive for excellence. So therefore, excellence will not just be a habit, it'll be a way of life. So if we are making God first, then we are committed to excellence. And if we are committed to excellence, then we should refuse to lose. I declare victory in each and every day of my life, and I will do so for the rest of my life, because God is with me and for me. And if God is with me and for me, then nothing or no one is going to stand against me. And that's how I live my life. And each and every day of my life, my relationship with God is consistent. He is number 1 in my life. He will always be number 1 in my life. So my wife and I together make him first. Therefore, we are blessed in our ways. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I claim to be? No. Is my life perfect? Absolutely not. But I'll guarantee you one thing: my life is very good, and my life is very blessed. And I can never thank him and praise him enough for that. So today, currently, and I say this to a lot of clients that do have these substance abuse issues, I see alcohol and drugs as my mortal enemy. That is my mortal enemy. And I want them to see it that way too. And I pray, in some of these sessions, that God will give the individual a sick feeling if they even think about wanting to use again or drink again, because it is that dangerous and it is that harmful to us, and it really is our enemy.
I think one thing too that a lot of people don't understand, they've got away from, they understand God as God, and what you said is absolutely correct, but they don't understand our relationship with God, with Yahweh. He is the creator, and within
Yeah,
us
that's
is
right.
this place that belongs only to Him, and
Correct.
unless He is fulfilling that, there is no peace. So by surrendering to Him, by yielding to Him, by making Him first, that allows Him to put that final key in our soul that brings that completion.
Um, just a second.
And you're absolutely right.
There's a lady that's messaging me, and I need to tell her right now.
Uh-huh.
While you're watching the show, just take your cell phone and pick it up and dial 988. That is the suicide hotline. And you can talk to someone right now that's a professional that can help you. And it's 988. You can also text it. Okay, and thank you for watching, and I'm glad that you're wanting something new, but just
And
stop with being so destructive, okay? Because losing your life is not the answer, because it's just going to compound what you've got.
No.
Just stop what you're doing, darling, and dial 988.
And
Okay?
if
let's
you are
pray for
battling
that
with
person right
suicide right
now.
now, if
Yeah.
you are battling with suicide right now, we bind and we rebuke that spirit, and we
That's
please
right.
reach out for help.
Thank you for
And
reaching
Father,
out to me.
we
Let's pray
ask
for.
that you bless this person, Father, and we ask that you come against the spirit of suicide within this person. By your mighty power, Father Yahweh, in your mighty and holy name, Yahshua Jesus the Christ's name, I bind and rebuke that spirit of suicide and cast it out and off and away from that person at once. I
In the
ask for
name
you
of
to send
Yeshua
giant warrior angels
HaMashiach.
to come and remove that spirit. And I ask that you take that spirit of suicide and deposit it back into the pits of hell where it belongs. And Father, I ask that you bring forth blessing and transformation in this person. I ask that you strengthen them in mind, body, and spirit. I ask for a complete and total healing miracle for this individual in mind, body, and spirit. I pray that they will seek you and make you first and submit before you and accept Jesus into their life. And I pray that you will loose the blessings of Deuteronomy 28 over that person and bless their coming in and bless their going out and make their enemies to flee from them in 7 different directions. Father, we give you the praise and the thanks and the glory for everything forevermore. In Jesus' name, glory, hallelujah.
Amen.
Bless you,
Amen.
darling. She sent me a message. I don't know how she could do it the way she did, but it was anonymous. If you go back and look at the chat, you'll see that person posting. And yeah, we we were in an intervention tonight. We're a pretty good team, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, and we praise
And
God
Good.
for it. So there's no such thing as
absolutely. Oh,
coincidence.
I
So
got chills
everything
all
means
over.
something.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's got to be on the phone. I've got chills all over me. This is the first time she said she's reached out for help. Oh my gosh. When I
Well, may
worked
she
with
receive her healing miracle now.
Amen.
Absolutely.
When I worked with the Spiritual Warfare Alliance team, I worked as the psychic so that I could tell the demonologist what was happening, what I would see, the names, if names came through, or pain, or if she's telling the truth or he's telling the truth, that kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like what happened just now, being able to connect with the person, and you pray, and then I would get confirmation, like what I did. That's how it worked. So it's been a long time since I've done this,
Praise
but
God.
we're on it now. This
Right.
is,
Yeah.
I
And
pray
may
every
the
day that
healing
God,
process begin here and
yes,
now. And I pray that God has removed that spirit of suicide off of that person to where they can move forward and rebuild their life. And I pray that they will submit before him and make him first. And then everything will change very, very quickly after that. And we just have to be real and sincere and authentic. So, it's very easy. We've all been in those jams. Oh, if you just get me out of this, I'll never do it again and I'll make you first and all that. We've all been there. But when we're talking about having a real and authentic relationship with Yahweh, that requires sincerity, and because we're not going to con God. He knows every hair on our head. We're not going to con him.
Right.
So it requires that level of sincerity and authenticity. And then, like James said, draw close to God and he'll draw close to you. And that's it. So we just have to be real.
That spirit of suicide is an especially nasty spirit,
So,
to bring a person to where they will actually want to and consider taking their own life. That is I don't know, that's pretty bad.
And I think about 9 out of 10 times.
But that's right out of the devil.
Yeah, they want love, they want acceptance, and they don't get it. I know, I was there,
and that spirit, Bobby, that spirit is there to kill, rob, and destroy. So that's the end game there, and the devil has a celebration after that person has killed themselves.
Right.
And so go ahead. You were talking about something about being there, Bobby.
Yeah, when I was young, I was an abused child, extremely. And as I started growing up, I'm like, I'm better than that. Now, maybe that's a poor choice of words for it, but that's how I felt. And
no, it's
when
not.
I came,
that's not a poor choice of words, because God wants you to say that.
Well, yeah. And, then I came out of that. I grew up. I accepted Christ. Randy and I had 3 beautiful kids. And then 5 kids came in that were severely abused, physically, mentally, and sexually.
And she raised them too.
Yes.
And then she adopted me.
Yeah.
God bless her.
But the thing is, what I learned with these 5 kids, yes.
You guys are batting 1,000.
I told you they're wonderful.
I don't know about that, but,
they are.
We love helping people because we have been helped so much.
Any spirit that tells someone to suicide is under the influence of the evil one.
That's right.
Absolutely. But I know that these girls, there was 4 girls.
Absolutely right.
And every one of them on a daily basis struggled with suicide.
Oh.
So it was every day that I had to talk to them and literally talk them down. And when you do stuff like that, you come under attack too.
God bless you.
And it's physically, not just from the kids, but from the demons themselves. And it's not easy, but it's worth it.
That's true.
And I thought about killing myself one time, and I'm glad God is real, because I took a razor blade and I was going to slit my wrist. And I'm all ready to do it. I can't take it anymore. I'll never forget it, because I know that was God saving me. And I took that razor blade, thought it was going to come across my wrist, hit my leg, passed out because I was bleeding on my leg. That's a true story.
That's so funny.
Well, praise God. Yeah. So again, we praise it for loving you that much and for saving you. And so, again, your walk and your journey is an appointed one. God has called you both into service in that way, and you're both abundantly blessed as a result of it, and you're such a blessing to so many people. So this is a Christ-like calling, and we praise him for it. So you'll just continue to be who you are, and he will continue to work through you to be who you are, to be a blessing to everybody in your path.
A lot of people
doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, a lot of people have gotten very calm now. She is on the phone, so she sent me a message back on the phone. So we're good. We're looking good. I feel much better. Yeah, it was like she was having some sort of a implosion. And this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. And I just said, well, you just need to laugh. If everything's wrong, then you can't do anything wrong. It's at its worst right now. And I just tried to make her kind of look at it from a different perspective. I was, trying to do the show and texting this lady. I apologize, but I needed to do it, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yep.
This is
Now,
right.
how do
God works with you
people?
to navigate that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something else. How? Let's see if I could get this together. We have a couple of very intense residential cases. This one lady, she knows that she's got something in her
Mhm.
home. The whole family's got their little mattresses in the dining room, and they all sleep on the floor together because they're afraid. And now
Oh,
she's
it's
having to. She's
terrible.
having to move her mom. She's having to, everything's gotten in the way. She's, wants us to come take a look, and but every time there's a problem that's interrupting. If it's a bad situation such as that, can we just reach out to you or on behalf of the client or let them do that?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yes. No, you can do that. You can do that or have them contact me either way. I am busy every single day, but God always helps me to be able to manage to get people in to Adam. I don't know how it's supernatural in itself, how he works this out to where he's truly working through me to help as many people as possible. So I would never turn anybody away. And yeah, if you contact me or have them contact me, either way, you both contact me together, and we'll get something scheduled, and we'll let God be God.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to see anybody sleeping on mattresses on a floor, and they all got to sleep together because they're afraid to. I've been through all that as a kid, and
Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody go through that.
We'll get over there as soon as they are able to
And
get the
so in
schedule
my
lined up.
Yeah, let me know, Lee. And
Okay.
in the way that I go about things, again, which is the way that God works through me to go about it, I um, I guess I'm aggressive, ferocious, and I can't be any other way. And that's how God works through me to be. So these demonic forces are bullies to people, and they bully people, and they of course use the fear-based, trauma-based tactics against them. God works through me to sort of be the bully coming in, and I don't say this of my own accord. This is by the power of God working through me, and I could do nothing against demonic forces if I didn't have God's power working through me. But my
Right.
approach is a very stern, aggressive, offensive approach. Now there are others that deal with this in a defensive manner, and I'm not going to criticize them. That's just the way they go about it and how God works through them to do it. That's
Yep.
not my approach. Again, um,
Yep.
I feel that if God is working through us, then we've got to be bold and fierce and take power and authority over this garbage and kick it in the teeth right out. That is my
Yep.
approach. And so it is mode approach. And and so I can't be any other way. Um, so I praise God for working through me in that way. And I think partly is due to the sufferings of others. In not wanting to see people victimized. I almost get enraged when I see that someone is suffering or being, assaulted or harmed or, under attack. There's no way I could sit there and watch that, and so I'm going to be very proactive and very
Yep.
aggressive in rectifying the situation. And I praise God for working through me in that way to do
Yeah.
so.
What
Yeah.
is
Bill, I
the?
always say it this way.
Excuse me, Blaine.
No, I always say, hey, I don't play fair. Why should I play fair? They don't. I play for the advantage.
Well, look at where
It,
uh, uh,
right. So the best
padding
defense is a
around.
strong
Look, look
offense.
at, yeah, look at what padding around people's feelings has got us. We have churches in here on every corner, and they're not being effective because they're more worried about attendance and whatever it is that they're worried about. I'm not going to say. I'm not even going to call them a country club
Mhm.
anymore.
Thank you.
But they're more worried about other things than actually telling the truth.
Well,
And
I'll
when a
say it for
person
you,
knows
Randy.
the
It's
truth,
unfortunate,
when the person knows the
and
truth, then they become
yeah,
responsible for it. But if they don't know it,
no, you're right.
those who are speaking the truth, are supposedly speaking the truth, are the ones responsible for their lives.
But see, it
Yes,
all
ma'am.
comes back to Isaiah 5:20. What are those who call evil good and good evil, and that's what this is now. So they
Mhm.
glorify evil, and they make the villain out of the person that stands up for good and right and truth. And so most of our churches now, I'm sorry to say this, it pains me to say it, they've become dens of iniquities because they have become corporate entities who have a bottom line, and their bottom line is to get as much cash out of every person that they can. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. Not all,
Well,
but
you're right
a
there.
lot out there. That is the approach. So they're bringing people in off the street and saying, hey, you don't have to change a bit. Just come on in. The pastor's going to entertain you. He's going to tell jokes. He's going to be funny. You're going to love him. He's going to be the entertainer. Nothing about spiritually feeding you. They want to come in and perform a show for you. And therefore, you'll feel good and you'll think that, oh, I went to church. And
I will
they
not
got
go to a
$100
church
out of
like
me, and they'll get $100 out of me again next week. And got
I got-
nothing. No
Yeah, I got-
spiritual enlightenment, wasn't spiritually fed at all.
Yeah, I got to
I'm sorry,
tell you,
Christopher, go
we had
ahead.
come to a point where, back 10 years ago, where I looked at her one day and I said, you know what? We tithe faithfully because I believe in Malachi chapter 3. I do. We tithe faithfully. But I said, we have got to find some place
Give
where
with a glad heart.
we could put our tithes into something local, community based, where something is helping. Because I'm really tired of buying a new lawnmower for the deacon every year. Yeah, and that's what it
But
came
you hear a
down
lot
to.
of these churches also say, they will also say, oh, we've outgrown our church here, and we're going to need you to double up on your tithes so we could get our brand new church building. This is a tactic that's used over and over and over again. Another tactic that is used is, I want you to double up on your tithes because we're going to give that money to them children over in Africa. There's nothing wrong with trying to give monies or foods or whatever to starving children in Africa. But you have a community that you're serving. Your church is serving a community. How about reaching out to the community first and then going out from there? And I'll tell you why a lot of them don't do it. Because if they did that, then it would be a real scrutiny and like a magnification of where those funds are going. It's easier to say if you are trying to hide funds, and if you're say that the congregation has doubled up on tithes, and now we're going to send 10% of those tithes over to the starving children in Africa, and 90% the church is going to keep. There are churches like that. They know who they are, and more importantly, God knows who they are. And so that becomes a scam and a game. So they won't start in the communities because that's more transparent. So it's amazing how the devil will work through some of these, and they're nothing more than corporate entities and dens of iniquities, in my opinion. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true.
Yeah,
You're right.
I
Bill,
have
Bill Longdon calls us.
Blaine,
Sorry,
I couldn't hear you, darling. What did you say?
I'm sorry, Brother
Well, it
Blaine.
didn't matter. It
Go
don't
ahead.
matter.
Go ahead.
No, it don't matter.
come on, Blaine.
It wasn't that important.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
I wanted
But
to
I
hear
would-
what you had to say.
I do too.
It is
Okay.
to me.
All right.
It is to me
And
because
for churches now, churches aren't even calling themselves churches anymore. They're calling themselves campuses. And you go in there, they got a Starbucks inside the church and a
some
donut
are.
place in there. My mom's church is like that, and I just didn't feel comfortable in there.
You know
Well, I'm
what?
going to say this, and again,
Oh,
look,
sorry.
God bless the wonderful churches out there who have real intent. But this past Easter Sunday, there was a church in Atlanta, and the pastor's name is Mike Todd. And you can punch this up to verify this. I'm not making any of this up. I wish I was. This guy is the head of a church that they probably get 20,000 people a week into that church. It's a mega church. And on Easter Sunday, they put some LGBTQ woman on a cross, lit the cross, had hellfire, and they had all these dancers on the stage, rap music, someone coming out. I don't know if it was the pastor dressed up like this Mike Todd, or someone pretending to be him, singing about how everybody's jealous of his money, and he had all the bling, the gold chains on. And then they had these three women that came out that were scantily clad, and they came out on the stage comparing the sizes of their rear ends. This is Easter Sunday church service in Atlanta. Pastor Mike Todd, you can punch the video up, you'll see it for yourself. And so this is why I say a lot of these places now are dens of inequities. They're not spiritually feeding anybody. They are bringing sin in and promoting sin. And the reason for that is because they've become this corporate entity now, and they want to get people's money.
So I just got a notification from the chat that they think that Facebook may be trying to censor some of this now because the screen keeps going black. Very unusual.
I would not
Lee,
doubt.
I wouldn't doubt
Okay.
that.
Okay,
And,
we're on the show with Bill. Every show I've done with Bill, we've always had something goofy happen. So that's par for the course for having Bill Bean on this show. Come on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Maybe I
He's
should put one of those
right.
curses on them.
That is par for the course.
Me personally, I will not attend a
And
church.
you know, when you're
I would
speaking
never
the truth,
do that.
this is what happens.
That's
Well,
great.
I had a couple of questions.
And I'm not
necessarily.
I'm not vilifying. Surely, go ahead.
I was just going to ask about the differences between an exorcism. I guess that would be a Catholicism type of exorcism, actually performing the act, compared to a deliverance. How is that different? I mean, it's getting the job done, like it needs to be. But in the act itself, how is it different?
But the difference
Part of the
is
sacrament of holy orders, right?
The difference is Catholicism is ritual. So through Catholicism, an exorcism is a rite, a ritual. And so the only reason that I even use the word exorcist is because if I say spiritual deliverance minister, some people go, what is that? If you say exorcist, then they understand what it is. But I'm non-denomination, I'm not Catholic, so I don't follow or use the rite of Catholic exorcism. God works through me to be a spiritual deliverance minister, and therefore, again, my approach is how Jesus was. I'm not comparing myself to Jesus because I'm not Jesus, but I try to be in the order of. And so his approach was complete faith that he had the power and God's power working through him to evict these entities, and he did. And so that's how I operate, in complete faith. And believe me, now I've been in situations where I was in life-threatening situations, people wanting to shoot me, handing me their gun, trying to stab me, trying to physically attack me, bite me, spit on me, you name it. I mean, I've encountered it, and God has kept me safe through it all. And the most important thing in that, even in how Blaine and I were talking about, on the battlefield and having that high level of the adrenaline flowing and trauma now present because of the chaotic situation and life-threatening things that are same thing for me, that I've been in life-threatening situations and the trauma was high and the adrenaline was high, but I had to remain in control. I cannot show any fear whatsoever. If I show any fear whatsoever, I'm finished. The people that I'm helping, they're finished. They're in danger. And so I have to remain in control of the situation no matter what. And I thank God and praise God for helping me to be able to remain in control. I've seen people's eyes turn all white, all black, all red. One case in San Diego, the lady's eyes turned like a yellow-green with reptilian slits. I have seen levitation. Nice. I have heard voices, deep masculine voices speaking out of females. I have encountered superhuman strength from these entities. You name it. The only thing that I haven't seen is a person's head turn all the way around. I've seen the rest. I've seen people's limbs twist in ways that are not humanly possible without hearing bones pop and ligaments, tear and pop. I've seen it. I have just about anything that you could think of in your mind. I have experienced it and witnessed it. And even if you were there with me to witness it, you would rub your eyes and go, did that really just happen? I had a case one time in Gettysburg in 2014 that and the lady was fully demonically possessed. God worked through me to deliver her from evil. And then after that, it's not over. I have to go through the entire home after that, making sure that there's no demons hiding and lurking in the home. So I have to bind, rebuke, and cast out any demons that might be hiding or lurking. And on this occasion, it was a very large home, and I got to it was 3 levels. And I got to the
Oh,
third
my.
level, actually 4 if you count the basement. But I was upstairs and I got to the 3rd level, and there was a wide set of steps. And I went up the steps, and to my right, there was a lamp over there. So it was pretty well lit. And I started there, binding and rebuking, clearing, casting out. Then I went over to the other side. The other side was completely dark. And the only light that was coming in was the moonlight. There was a window, like a double window on the right, no draperies or curtains or anything. So the moonlight was shining through that. And several feet in front of that was a ventilation shaft. And so standing in between the window and the ventilation shaft, this entity was at least 7 feet, all black, glowing red eyes, and it almost like a Mothman type of creature, which I believe is a fallen angel. Had like folded in wings. You could see the things coming up on points over the shoulders. I was standing probably within 10 feet of that entity. And I had a Bible in this hand and a holy shaker in this hand with a mixture of holy water, oil, and salt. And now I want you guys to visualize this for a second, because if the power of God wasn't working through me, I could have fainted. I could have soiled myself. I could have ran. All of the above, anything could have happened at that point. But by the power of God working through me, I stood against that entity. And I said, by the mighty power of Yahweh and his mighty and holy name of Yahshua, Jesus the Christ's name, I bind, rebuke you, and cast you out. And I shook that 3 times, and that thing let out a screech like I have never heard before or since.
Wow.
It was so loud that it rattled the window, and then it departed.
Mm-hmm.
So that is only by the power of God that I could withstand something like that. And that's not the only time that I've come face to face with demonic entities like that. I've had so many of these types of experiences throughout my lifetime. And I praise God, certainly now as a spiritual warrior, that he works through me to help to be in control no matter what.
We do have someone in the chat room. She says the ramp, R-A-M-P, and she's got it capitalized, has taken over my town. Don't know if any of you have heard of it. The locals
I have. It's basically a cult.
Well, they're saying that it's a cult, and she's just reporting to us that that's what she's living in right now. I've never heard of it, but sounds like I don't want to hear of it.
Well, again, Nina, what I would suggest for your town is for the good Christian people to come together and unite and make God first and pray against this. And may he absolutely set his face against this cult and dismantle them. And may the good people rise up, the faithful people, and be in that level of warrior mode. And may God work through you to bring back your town and have the blessing and the favor of God. That's what we need to do in every city, town, community, neighborhood in America. That's what we need to do. The people need to come back together as children of God, make him first, keep him first, and stand together, shoulder to shoulder, to say, we're not having any more of this. We're not having this in our city. We're not having this in our town. We're not having this in our community. We're not having this in our neighborhood. And if people did that, all of a sudden, all the crazy, wicked, evil things that are taking place would be gone. But people don't understand it because they are too distracted by the world, and therefore there's no way that people can come together because they're divided by the distractions that are being presented to them as entertainment.
And you know what I don't like about some of these cults?
What is it, baby?
Some of them go so far in violating 2 Corinthians admonishment of state-sponsored churches and religious schools. It says so in the Bible not to do that.
The lady in chat says that
Yeah, and
RAMP is they're claiming to help addicts and others as well, which is why the community has accepted it so far.
Yeah.
So,
Many
well,
but I'll
of these,
guarantee you their philosophies are far away from God. That's for sure. I mean, I don't know anything about them, but if the one lady's saying that they're a danger or they're a cult or whatever, if that's the case, then you better believe God's not in it.
many of these cults also preach lies and heresies as well. You have to really watch and be careful.
You're right, Christopher. You're absolutely right. And we did a show on Warrior Mode this past Friday night. I had a couple that came on. They got caught up in a church that really is a cult. And boy, oh boy, did they ever suffer through some things. It became a public spectacle as a result of. And there are a lot of these charlatans out there now that present themselves as pastors, and they have, ministry, and they're going to do this and do that. And what they really are is cult leaders. And no matter who it is, if a person emotionally invests into someone, especially if it's a charismatic individual that is leading a church or a large gathering of people, that person can do anything and everything. And those people are blind because they're so emotionally invested, they can't see the wickedness that's going on. And that's how these cults flourish. And these cult leaders, they know exactly how to manipulate people. And it goes back to what we said earlier, that people are just looking for somebody to show them the way. There are very few leaders in this world. The world is made up mostly of followers. And so if there are charismatic individuals that come along and know how to manipulate people, boy, oh boy, can they ever have a field day with them.
That's why I want to digress a little bit. That's why I chose the Christian denomination that I did, because it's one of the very few that are actively preaching against the mix of state and church. Orthodox Church, the Eastern Rite. It's one of the very few today that are preaching against what is trending.
Yeah, well, again, all we have to do is go to the Bible and see the scriptures, and there are many that talk about stay out of the world, don't be a part of the world. Now, that's easier said than done because
it's
people
hard
with
as
jobs,
heck.
they have to. But what it really means is if you're making God first, then you will not fall into the worldly ways because you'll know the truth and you will follow the truth and be a part of the truth. And in serving our glorious God, we serve him in truth. Therefore, you won't be tricked or deceived into the garbage that's going on, in our world. And this is why the devil tries to separate us from God, because when we have that real and authentic connection with him, then our spiritual discernment increases and we know that we can't participate in certain things, because if we do, we are going to be subject to the world. Therefore, we're going to be wide open and vulnerable for demonic attack. The devil knows it. This is why he presses those types of buttons.
Biggest weapon to make that possible, I noticed, Bill, is the art of division. He divides.
Correct.
Groups of Christian faith to
That's
fight
right.
each other.
All right. So I'm looking at RAMP.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry, my love. The young lady that's been talking about RAMP says that people come from all over the country to this RAMP, and it's by Karen Wheaton, and she shut down the movie theater and brought buildings of her own to create a church. And from what I can tell, now I'm reading fast. I have never heard of any of this, but from what I understand,
haven't heard
they're
of it either.
trying. From what I can read in just a few quick moments, it's as if they believe that God's kingdom is real and tangible right now, and they want to make a kingdom on earth for him. And so
That
the whole
is a
point,
red flag right there.
Yeah, that's true.
That
So that's what
Because
that's about.
a great and terrible day is coming, and it's coming sooner than later. God's
what,
not, he's only going to go so much further before. And this, again, if you read the Bible over and over, we've seen that the people rebel against God, and he gives them every opportunity to repent and change their ways. One instance was in Nineveh when Jonah, who hated the Ninevites, he did not want to deliver that message. But this is one instance where God superseded our free will, and he imposed his will on Jonah to say, you are going to go and tell the king of Nineveh that if they don't change their wicked ways, I'm going to destroy them. Jonah did not want to deliver that message, and he did everything possible not to deliver that message, but God imposed his will on him, and eventually he did go and deliver that message. Now, the king of Nineveh listened to what Jonah said, and he decreed that the people were going to change their wicked ways, and they did. And they did so for 100 years, and God cooled his anger to them and actually blessed them. And then they started their wicked ways again, and he brought forth complete destruction. And so this has happened many times before, and I'm sorry to say that we're on course for this to happen again. And so the world, especially in America, is under that spirit of rebellion, and God's only going to put up with it for so much longer.
That creation of a kingdom is creation of a state, and in 2 Corinthians, you do not mix the matter of spirit and Caesar together. So it'll, because there's so many, because it's such an absolute admonition against that, it'll be hellfire against this group. God will be very angry.
Well, he's already very angry, Christopher. I can guarantee you that. Some of the things that are taking place, it's just, it's horrible. It's unacceptable. And the only way, two things are going to happen. Well, three. One, either God himself is going to eradicate this and send Jesus back in, and all hell's going to break loose. Two, God may raise a man or people up against this and say, no more, we're not having this anymore. And then we just eradicate this as human beings and say we're not standing for this wickedness any longer. Or three, the wickedness completely takes over, and then God will bring forth destruction anyway, because there's always going to be an end game when the devil comes in for a short time and takes control. That's only for a short time, and then Yahweh is going to have enough, and that's going to be that.
He's going to break down that group and anything to do with the heresies that are being spoken. That's just as high as blasphemy in my book, and the Lord will crush it like a tin can.
Well,
again, it always goes back to Psalm. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lee.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm sorry. I think I have a little delay, and sometimes
there is a delay. Yeah, there is a delay in here.
So I was just going to say,
and I'm going to have to leave you guys in about 5 minutes, unfortunately.
They're censoring us, aren't they?
Well, if that is the case, could you please let people know how to reach out to you, how to see your broadcast, and your book, and what all you're doing? Because there's obviously
we didn't talk about that. We've had such great discussion that we didn't even get to that. And I want to thank you guys for having me. It's been wonderful, and I've enjoyed it.
Wonderful.
I look forward to coming back. This has been a very powerful presentation. And I want to thank all of you out there for watching and listening in as well. Now, it's my pleasure, and I can't wait to come back with you guys again. If you're out there and you're
God's
in need,
word, true to form.
Yes, you have.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. Thank you all. I appreciate that.
Oh, the chat is saying they're saying it's been a pleasure listening to you. They're all talking about that. So
thank you very much, and God bless all of you. And if you're out there and you're in need, don't hesitate. Just visit BillJBean.com. You can email me directly from the site. I will get back to you as quickly as I can, and by the power of God working through me, we'll get you helped and free from whatever is going on. So if you are in that level of crisis, don't hold back. Don't put it off. Reach out. get help, and be free from this garbage. So, and my book, I've written 10 books. This is the 10th book, called Tales from an Exorcist. And you can order that from Amazon, or you can go to BillJBean.com and order it from there as well. So I'm just very thankful, Lee. I'm very blessed. And I every day of my life, I praise God for my life. And I also ask that He works through me to be a blessing to others. That is my MO. That's who I am. That's who I'll continue to be. And I thank God and praise God for it. So again, thank you so much for having me. Much love, and God bless all of you. And
Yes.
looking forward to the next time.
Hopefully it won't be as long as it was this last time. I certainly have missed you, and I thank you for your friendship.
No, I've enjoyed
Yes.
it. And next time
So many people.
you better
They're just
believe
saying.
it. And
They're
and
all
so
saying thank you,
this is the
thank you, thank
preview.
you.
Next time we'll stay even longer.
Yeah, I want to hear more
Mother.
about your exorcisms.
Praise
I've
God.
had
Oh, I
some.
Love
would
and
love
God
to
bless
talk to
all of
you
you.
about the exorcism stuff
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah. Well, you better scoot. I know you've got to go. Thank you
there's a
for
lot to
spending more
talk
time.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoyed talking to you, brother.
Bill, thank
Yes.
you,
That's
brother.
right.
Thank you.
Love and God bless all of you. And have a great rest of the night. And we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, we'll stay on for
Bye
the
bye.
next 15. Bye, Bill.
Yeah. See you, Bill.
Isn't he a wonderful man?
He
Always,
is.
it's
He
always good to have
really
Bill on.
is. When I first met
I was
him,
just counting in my head.
he's.
I,
I think you are the one that told me to get in touch with him, Blaine. God, that was 20 years
it
ago.
was. Yeah, I've known. Yes, it is, and I've
He
known
was.
Bill. Let's see. Yeah, that long.
He
I
goes
first
all the way
met
back
Bill.
to.
Yeah,
He was in Blog Talk days, wasn't he?
God, yeah. Well, that's the first interview I had with Bill. First time I met him though was here in Alabama. He did a Paracon that I was at, and we
Oh,
hit it off.
okay.
And most people that don't know Bill, I've seen Bill probably 200 times and talked to Bill. There's only 2 times I ever saw him without a suit on, and once was tonight, and once I saw him wear blue jeans. But Bill always has a 3-piece, nice looking suit on all the time.
Always.
Yeah,
I tell you what, you
Bill's
want to see
such a good
something
people.
good? Let him grab his guitar. I watched.
That dude can play. Oh my
He can
God! Oh, can he
play.
ever play?
I mean, rock kind of stuff, Southern rock. And Keith Age, who's going to be coming on the show, he was in the Kentucky Headhunters, and get Bill and Keith together. Oh my gosh, get you on the drums, Blaine.
I have played with both of them at the old. Let's see, what was it called? It wasn't Scarefest. It's the other one that Keith hosted.
I can't think of that, but Scarefest is
I
awesome.
Yes.
yeah,
I
but this
wasn't
is something else.
there. I saw the
Yeah,
videos or live feeds, but Trish in our chat room said that Bill did a deliverance for her after a lifetime of
good job.
mental and physical abuse and even
Mm,
a family curse. So she thanks
right on.
Yahweh for him. Now, this is
Yeah,
something that, as a part of Family Spirit or the Paranormal Pros group, one is friends, the other one's family members. But we're going to change that up. Blaine is part of Family Spirit. He's the only blood kin that's not in, the family, that's Family Spirit. But we are doing what we do to help people and to learn.
yep.
We do not have a faith based spirituality or religion. We
No,
know that these things exist. We have been there and seen it. So, yes, it's pretty incredible. I do want you guys to know I got just a little bit of housekeeping to talk about. Um, we are going to be doing, I sent it to, hey, Rex, do you have the things that I sent to Brandon? I sent him my poster for my class, and then I also sent the books. There it is. Yeah, you do. Okay,
sweet.
so this is the poster that Piedmont Technical College had the media department make for me. And there's a QR code for your convenience. We are going to dig deep into UFOs, cryptids, and other supernatural discussions. I have noticed an uptick. If you see a UFO, you're going to see a cryptid. If you see a UFO, you might have a Bigfoot encounter as well. And they seem to go
Yep.
together. Okay, and now this course will be online as well in person. So you could go ahead and register, or you can just send me a direct message, DM, PM, what is it called? Just send it directly to me, and I'll help you with that.
Yep.
So we'll be talking about UFOs, and I've got some footage that's going to blow your mind. And we're going to be even doing some
Yep.
science experiments. And we do have 2 field trips. We'll be going to um, a reservation and looking at petroglyphs. And then after that,
Oh,
later on, we're going to be going to the Bigfoot Festival, where afterwards we're going to be UFO hunting as well as Bigfoot. We do have another location we'll probably tiptoe over to. It's kind of a half of a little field trip, and we're going to be looking for fairies. So,
Yeah.
all right. Can you do the books now, Rex, please, sir? Tales in the Dark. This one is perfect for the
the
season
hell!
going in. What happened, Blaine? What was it? What was that? Blaine?
I
Did
don't
you
know.
hear that?
I heard like somebody cracked a whip right behind me, and it made me turn.
Yeah, I saw you. I heard something. So Tales in the Dark is a bunch of campfires, stories. I did some research on the origins of them and found they go all the way back to the turn of the century. There's a werewolf story, a Wendigo story. There's a bunch. So I hope that you'll enjoy this. This is for people 9 years old and older, not for little folks. And Rex Nielsen, our producer tonight, is the artist. He is the illustrator for the drawings in this book, and he's doing um, my Legends of the Iroquois and Cherokee book. It's in the making. I've got writer's block. It's coming back, I promise. Okay, the next one, Rex. Okay, Blaine and I, together with my mother, Judy Terry, and my husband Matthew, we wrote "So You Think Your Kid is Psychic," and I actually had
Yep.
some people, some people that are on this forum. I've met their grandkids and kids, and I have a feeling that she might need this book. So, yeah, this is a great book about what you can expect when you have a child that may be developing some psychic skill. And it also gives you some ideas of what you can do for activities so that it's not so scary. And also, it can help them improve. Okay, what's the next
Oh
one, my
yeah.
friend? All of these are on Amazon. This is the first book I wrote. It's called Family Spirit, and it's about the different investigations my grandmother and great grandmother did, and then we went behind them and did them with modern technology, and we compare the evidence. I thought that was kind of a neat concept, and I'm glad I did it because I was able to capture my grandmother's stories. So, all right, and this one is Rex's. It's Unexplainable Art in Black and White by Rex Nielsen. Rex has a uh, Zen tangle type of artistry. It's very mesmerizing, and the closer you get to it, the prettier it is. So here's an example of some of his art.
Dirty.
Like I said, the closer you get to it, look at those horns. I just think it's beautiful. And so he has another book coming out shortly. And just be watching for more things with Rex. He's been commissioned on a lot of projects. Okay, we saw that one, and let's do the Psychology 101, please.
That's all I got is just those three.
Okay,
I didn't get any more than that. Sorry.
okay. The other one is Parapsychology 101, and all of these, like I said, are on Amazon. And please support local authors. I mean, we're the little guy, and we're doing these from our heart. Also, we are going to be at the um, oh gosh, there we go. See if
Deep
I can get it.
South Paracomicon.
Yes, the Deep South Paracomic-Con. This is the book of Beginning Your Journey of the Unexplained, Parapsychology
Nice.
101. My what you call it, filters won't act up with it. So just put my name in Amazon, and also look for Blaine or Rex. We are all referencing each other about the book. So if you find one, you should be able to bring all of us up together.
Yep.
Okay, so Nina Heath is saying that Keith Age she's friends with him, and her cousin is the drummer for Shenandoah. I didn't know that, Nina.
Yeah.
Adalea and Shenandoah had done some things together, and Adalea's from here. Okay, let's see. We've got a few more things. Blaine, you want to go ahead and do your conversation?
Yeah, we sort of touched on this earlier with Bill. If you're thinking of committing suicide, please, please, please call somebody. There's always somebody there to help you. Hell, we helped one out tonight on the show. That's just beyond awesome. And I preach this until I'm blue in the face. Not just every suicide. I do not want nobody to commit suicide, but when 22 veterans a day are killing themselves, that's a problem for me. And anybody trying to kill themselves is a problem for me because there is help out there. And I understand the VA system ain't the best system in the world, but they are getting better. I can't say that much for bigger cities because they're so overloaded that they are farming them out to the civilian population. And sometimes the psychiatrist might be in network or might not be in network. Or they're in network and you get to talk to one and they drop you out of that network. I've seen that happen with too many vets. And it's just heartbreaking for me being a vet. I don't want to see anybody that wants to hurt themselves. Please talk to somebody. Because I would rather listen to you for 4 hours, bitch, moan, and gripe, than have to go to your eulogy 3 days later.
Isn't that awful?
I know.
There's people in the chat that are posting that they're willing to listen as well. That's why we have the group Family Spirit that Blaine is also an administrator for. Bobby is handling one over in one of the counties in South Carolina. There's been a lot of things going on. We are here to listen.
Yes.
Nina says, "You're such a sweetheart, Blaine. You've always been a great help, and you may not know it, but you have really always been a wonderful blessing." I totally agree. I totally agree. There's been a lot that you've done for us. I know that.
We help each other, so.
All right, so I'm going to do my my cultural prayer. This one is for healing, and so I'm praying for this for everyone watching. Yes, we do. We've got a lot of people that either physically, emotionally, and or spiritually, they're needing healing. And let's don't forget the fact that just because the situation has resolved itself, you're no longer being abused. The abuse goes much longer because you have to deal with it. You have to unpack it basically in your mind. And it takes a long time for you to be able to look at the situation and say, I can overcome this. I can overcome that. Tracy Rizzo is saying that she is also in South Carolina and she'd love to connect with people that she can help in this manner. So she wants to learn how to do more. Tracy, the
awesome.
class that we're teaching, Blaine helps me. Bobby's in it. We're going to be doing it online, but if you're in South Carolina, you might want to come. Please go to Piedmont Technical College. I think it's ptc.edu.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. She wants to make sure she's not saying the wrong things when it comes to trying to help someone. Yeah,
Tracy,
that's a hard one.
Yeah, there is no wrong way to talk to somebody. If you talk to them with a positive attitude and willing to listen to what they say, you're doing everything correct.
Yes.
And just the fact that you're trying to help somebody, you might not have the exact words you want to say, but somehow they will get heard and they will get told.
If you know someone that's having problems and you are wanting to check on them, you can say, when you get a chance, can you contact me? I really feel alone. Here's words that if you are suicidal, you could say, I really feel alone and suicidal. I could use some support. I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live. Can you help me feel safe? Here's another one. This is really hard for me to say, but I'm having painful thoughts, and it might help to talk. And
Yes.
those kinds of things. If you would need to start a conversation, that's how. Tracy is in Columbia. We're in the central part of South Carolina, which is about an hour for you. I would love to be able to connect with you more. If
Mhm.
you would send me a message real quick, because when I get off here, it's going to be scramble, scramble. We are over time, so I'm going to go straight into the indigenous prayer. This one is prayer for healing. Lord, I invite you all, Lord, you invite all who are burdened to come to you. Allow your healing hand to touch me. Touch my soul with your compassion for others. Touch my heart with your courage and infinite love for all. Touch my mind with your wisdom that my mouth may always proclaim your praise. Teach me to reach out to you in need and help me to lead to others by my example. My most loving heart of Jesus, bring me health in my body and spirit that I may serve you with all of my strength. Touch gently this life which you have given me, which you have created now and forevermore. Aho.
Oh,
Thank you for
Oh,
listening. Yes, thank you for
yes.
listening to Family Spirit International.
Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you more than you
Yeah.
ever know. So we
Have a
out
good
here. Good night, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast. And this